In today's video, we're going to talk about the reasons why the rich look poor and also why it is important for the wealthy to look poor. Hi everyone, my name is Helen. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to go over some of the reasons that the wealthy tend to look poor when you see them at a glance. So let's just jump right into this. The first reason that the wealthy often look poor is because they know the value of money. See, unlike others who think money is to buy material goods, the wealthy think of money in a different way. When you're rich, you tend to think of money more as a tool for your freedom as opposed to something that you use to buy material goods. So a lot of wealthy people and a lot of rich people, they just don't value material goods as much as they do getting their money to work for them. So instead of putting their money into a flashy car or some other type of flashy thing, whether that be fashionable items, a car, a house, whatever the case may be, they instead focus on putting their money to work. So they invest their money. Maybe it's in real estate, maybe it's in stocks. And in fact, according to the Millionaire next door, it's not actually that common for millionaires to have flashy cars. And the average millionaire actually just has a Honda or a Toyota or some other typical car that you would see on the road. Now, of course, there are exceptions. Sometimes people like fancy cars or maybe they like certain fashionable items, but the rich tend to be very focused in how they spend and also what they do with their money. They value money differently. So as a result, they think of it differently and they focus on using money as a tool for freedom as opposed to buying material goods. The second reason that the rich tend to look poor is because they don't have the same social expectations or pressures that others feel to keep up with the Joneses. The rich don't have anything to prove. They know that their financial situation is very good, so they have a tendency to consider their wealth to be a way to accomplish certain goals as opposed to something that they use to keep up with the latest trends. In general, wealthy people tend to focus on more classic things or things that don't go out of style, not so much trends. So they may look poor to the average person because they're not keeping up with whatever is the trendy thing at that moment, but they also aren't spending their money on a trend that's going to go out of style in 3 months. So they don't have that social pressure. They don't feel the pressure to meet certain expectations and keep up with the Joneses. As a result, they end up not spending on whatever is the latest trend, and they only spend their money on things that they truly value. The third reason that the rich tend to look poor and why it is important to look poor is that they don't spend their money on depreciating assets like cars, boats, or other items unless it is of a personal interest to them. That means that instead of spending their money on something that they consider to be a liability, they would rather put their money into something that they consider an asset, such as stocks or real estate or maybe bonds or other investment opportunities. They don't focus so much on the material goods that have no interest to them. So if they're not interested in cars, they're not going to be buying a fancy car. They'll just get a basic car that works for getting them to where they need to go. If they don't have an interest in boats, they're not going to buy a boat. However, if they do have those interests, of course, they will probably invest in that, but they think of it as a liability, not as an asset. That means that instead of putting their money into something that is a liability in excess, they will put their money into something that is an asset that grows over time. So the wealthy think of certain items and certain things as liabilities instead of assets, and that's why they don't invest in those things. The fourth reason that the rich often look poor is that they actually value time over money. So time is limited. You only have so much on this earth. You're only going to be here for so long. Your time is precious. That means that instead of focusing on going to the store and buying all these things that you don't need to impress people that you don't even care about, The wealthy will instead spend their time doing things that they love, or maybe spending time with family, friends, or anything that they personally value. They recognize that their time is limited, so they focus on enjoying their time rather than chasing after money. They don't need to chase after money, so they don't do that. They instead focus on what is precious to them. They don't spend time wasting at shopping or going out and buying the latest trendy item. Instead, they spend their time focusing on the things that they personally value, whether that be friends and family, whether there's a hobby that they really enjoy, or anything else like that. The wealthy really value their time. The fifth reason that the wealthy may often appear to be poor is that they actually value their privacy. So when you have a certain amount of money, you don't want to be attracting a lot of attention when you're not trying to be a celebrity. If you are someone who is just the average person next door, you don't really want to attract a lot of attention, you don't want to focus on your monetary situation, then you really want to focus on getting your situation so that people don't know that you're wealthy. The wealthy do not always want to be the person that everyone knows has money. Rather, they would like to have a certain amount of privacy. If you are driving around in a fancy car, if you are wearing the latest fashion trends, if you're constantly keeping up with trends that are very expensive especially, then you're telling everybody around you that, hey, I have a lot of money. But the rich don't want that because they do not want the attention. Of course, there are differences. If they're a celebrity, they're going to have attention just because of that. But if you're talking about someone who is the millionaire next door, that person doesn't want to attract attention. They want to be seen as an average, normal person. They do not want their neighbors, their friends, their family to necessarily know about their financial situation. They just want to be comfortable, and they want to be able to do what they feel is important without that focused attention on them at all times. So they don't want to necessarily look rich because they value their privacy. If you liked today's video, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.